It's such a pleasure and an honor to be here with so many friends. And there's I think Suzanne, speaking of gratitude, the partnership that we've had, that Partners in Health has had with PWRDF is kind of going on about over 6 years now. And it's been such a pleasure because I think the values alignment is exact and bang on. That isn't always the case. And we can kind of talk a little bit about why that might be so. But I just want to extend a huge thank you to all of you who support the work, obviously, and to Will, and I see Adele here as well, and Guy, if Guy is also here as well, another one of our partners. So thank you all for making this collective work possible. I think a lot of the work that we do is built around a notion of what we call pragmatic solidarity, and that's what everybody here is showing as well. And I'll talk a little bit about that in 1 second. But very briefly, what Partners in Health is, we're a global health and social justice NGO. And so we started really in Haiti in the mid-1980s, really built around essentially this notion of liberation theology that came. I know that Suzanne shared a link that Paul Farmer was on CBC Ideas last week, and if people have a chance to listen to that, it's really, really wonderful. One of Paul's best interviews. But he talks a little bit about the origins there and his intellectual underpinning that led to the founding of Partners in Health was really through liberation theology and the teachings of Father Gustavo Gutierrez in Peru. And that's kind of encapsulated a little bit by this phrase, a preferential option for the poor. That Father Gutierrez, through his thinking, came to. And what that really means is that we should do better for people living in poverty, not the same. And the reason being, kind of that an understanding of poverty is structured evil, and structured because it's really a human creation in the same way that wealth is a human creation. So too is poverty. And so when we think about how to do the work that we do, it's really about how do we address that structured evil in a way that supports and builds up, and this word that we use a lot called accompaniment of those that we aspire to serve. And so the super quick story of Partners in Health is that there was a village in Haiti, in the Central Plateau of Haiti, where there was a hydroelectric dam built in the 1950s. And then this dam forced these peasants that were living and had livelihoods, they had livestock, they had arable land. But this electric dam was built by US interests to supply power to Port-au-Prince, the capital of Haiti, 40 miles away. And of course, the peasants who lived on that land received no compensation when their land was flooded and they were driven up the side of a mountain into a place that was barren, inaccessible, no access to water, no access to resources. And that's the kind of what we call structural violence that we aspire to address. And so Paul Farmer and Father Gutierrez wrote this book called In the Company of the Poor in 2013 that really talks about that connection between theology and development work in the way. And we are a secular organization, but really have this deep kind of underpinning. And so it leads to the question that when we're trying to address this structural violence or structured evil, what's the best way to do it? And it comes back to this notion that we call accompaniment, which means not to determine what anyone does, but for those that we're making a preferential option for, those who have been challenged by structural violence, that we are going to walk alongside. We are going to accompany. And we don't know where that path will go, and neither do the people that we are accompanying. That path is going to be long and winding, and it's also open-ended. So we make these long-term commitments to those we aspire to serve, which is exactly what PWRF has been doing for many, many years. And that we figure out together where the path is to make a better world for both of us, right? It's not about any sort of us making a better world for others. It's we aspire to live in a more just world. And so that together we are finding out how to build a more just world for all. And that's what Partners in Health tries to do, and the medium that we do it is really through healthcare, through building high quality healthcare and proving that we can deliver high quality healthcare anywhere in the world. And that means all the way from community level to hopefully tertiary level hospitals. And if we actually aspire to have a preferential option for the poor, it means we need to continue to push back really against a lot of global health and a lot of systems that say that there should be one standard for poor people and a different standard for rich people, in virtue of the fact that some are poor. And that means, you know, the result of that in development world has been that we have said that certain things are too expensive or too complicated or too difficult or too costly in some parts of the world where we would never accept those standards for ourselves. So the kinds of work that Partners in Health has been doing with PWRDF support really range from a gender-based violence work in Haiti that links justice to health, to police, to community. It ranges from very large maternal health work in Rwanda that has been incredibly successful in partnership with Global Affairs Canada through PWRDF. It ranges now to support for mothers. Many of community health workers in Malawi, many of whom are mothers, the overwhelming majority, to provide them with additional economic support. They're all paid, but they're not paid enough by PIH. So together we're developing a program where we're giving these community health workers goats that can help foster their economic livelihood. It's a communal resource, which is really wonderful. And then ranging to supporting maternal health in Lesotho as well. So it's just so incredible to be working with all of you who have this really shared alignment around pragmatic solidarity, which is what I mentioned before. So we can all say to those who are struggling, we are with you, we stand with you. But this notion of pragmatic solidarity is how can our actions help improve the lives of others? And that's what you're doing. That's what collectively we're doing, is taking pragmatic steps to walk alongside others to help improve all our lives. So just want to express that appreciation for all of you, for all the mothers out there who are women compose the majority of the 17,000 employees that we have worldwide, including 12,000 community health workers. And just to leave with the thought that hopefully everybody finds this to be very uplifting work as well. It's something that Paul Farmer talks about a lot. He's often asked, you know, he has seen devastation and trauma and death through 3 decades of working. And he always gets asked, well, how can you keep going? Where do you find the motivation? And he says there's nothing that he would rather be doing, because he gets to see uplifting, he gets to see love, he gets to see bonds of solidarity every day. And so that's also the work that hopefully we are all engaged in. So thank you so much for this partnership and allowing us to be part of your work.